Hi people, it's me, Anja, my pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new reading vlog. Ever since I discovered this new way of filming, I've been so much more excited to film videos lately, which is so nice and so refreshing to have that feeling back again, because like in summer of 2020, when I joined Book Twiddle for the first time, I don't know why I mentioned Book Twiddle, that's unrelated, but anyway, in summer of 2020, I was so excited about filming all the time because I was at home all the time, obviously because of the pandemic. I don't know why I spoke about the pandemic as if it's still not happening right now, but anyway, the point is I was so excited to film videos all the time in summer of 2020, which is why I was pre-filming 4 to 6 weeks in advance, because I would film videos literally every single day, that it would overwhelm the month of uploads. So that's why I set an uploading schedule to upload 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Anyway, last summer I got a job, which was so much fun and it was so rewarding, not just financially, but also it was such a fun position. I worked at a smoothie shop and it was so much fun. I didn't necessarily make the smoothies, but I did take people's orders and stuff. But anyway, the point is, because of that, I was more tired whenever I got home, so I wasn't as excited anymore to make videos, and sometimes in July especially, I was pushing myself to film videos. I don't know if anybody noticed that necessarily, but I was. So anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited that I'm back. And I'm back being so excited to film again, because this feeling of being excited about a hobby is so much fun, because I literally do genuinely love booktube. I love filming, I love editing. It's literally so much fun. But anyway, this is a reading vlog, so I guess I have to give you a reading update. I recently just finished 3 Kisses 1 Midnight, and also, this is kind of related, I got an idea to talk about more books in reading vlogs that I'm going to exclude in my recent reads videos later, just because in a reading vlog I can be more shorter when I give it a review, whereas in a recent reads video, I don't know if you noticed this, but whenever I do a book review for a recent reads video, I try to keep it short and concise. You know what I mean? The minimum amount that I talk about that book is 1 minute, but the maximum is 2 minutes, so that I can keep it short and concise. But in a reading vlog, when I'm talking about a book that I didn't really like that much, I'll probably just talk about it shorter than that even. Anyway, 3 Kisses 1 Midnight, if you didn't know, is a YA urban fantasy, I guess, following 3 best friends, and they each get a perspective, and I'm assuming that each story was written by a different author, because there are 3 authors for the book, if that makes any sense. And basically each main character has a love story on Halloween, and yeah, I didn't really like it that much, because I liked each story kind of more and less individually. So overall, I rated the story overall 3 stars. The first story was definitely my favorite. I don't know which author wrote each story, but the first story was definitely my favorite, and the next 2 stories I wasn't as interested anymore in the romance. I don't know, maybe the writing was just less captivating. So anyway, that's my last read. I have no idea what I'm going to read next, if I'm being honest with you, because I don't know what I'm going to read next. This is the time where I don't know what I'm going to read next before Tuesday, because if you didn't know, every Tuesday a new book releases, because in America we have new books released every Tuesday. I don't know why it's every Tuesday instead of every Monday. I think it has something to do with publishing companies or something. But anyway, this Tuesday I'm so excited for the Sunbearer trials, for I don't know, so many other books. Let me check Goodreads real quick actually, and I will let you know my full list of books that I'm really anticipating on Tuesday. So I'll be back in a second. Also, I just realized that this video might go up on Tuesday, September 6th. Today is Friday, September 2nd, but now that I'm so excited to film videos again, I might go back to uploading 3 times a week. So anyway, the first book that comes out on Tuesday that I'm absolutely so excited for is The Sunbarrow Trials, which, if you didn't know, is written by Aiden Thomas, the author of Cemetery Boys, and I forgot his other book. Oh my gosh, why am I so stupid? Lost in the Neverwoods. That book was absolutely so good, and it's so underrated. But anyway, if you didn't know, The Sunbarrow Trials follows, teenagers who are demigods, if I'm not mistaken. But, they compete in a series of challenges with the highest of stakes. And I'm going to read for you the synopsis on Goodreads, but I might skip some of the words because some of the words are goddesses and stuff that I don't know how to pronounce. But anyway, the synopsis on Goodreads reads, as each new decade begins, the sun's power must be replenished so that Sol can keep traveling along the sky and keep the evil obsidian gods at bay. 10 semidioses between the ages of 13 and 18 are selected by the sun himself as the most worthy to compete in the Sunbarrow Trials. The winner carries light and life to all the temples of Reino de Sol, but the loser has the greatest honor of all. They will be sacrificed to the sun, and their body is used to fuel the sunstones that will protect the people for the next decade. That's so interesting that they have a competition at the beginning of each decade, but it seems to me by the synopsis that the loser has the greatest honor over the winner. So which one is more important to the people? You know what I mean? Anyway, the main protagonist, who is transgender, love that for him, has never worried about the trials, or rather he's only worried for others. His best friend is one of the strongest heroes of their generation and is much too likely to be chosen this year. He can't help but worry, reluctantly and under protest, for somebody else, his friend-turned-rival, who is a shoo-in for the trials. And the main character wouldn't mind taking his rival down a notch or two, but a 1 in 10 chance of death is a bit too close for his taste. However, for the first time in over a century, the sun chooses somebody who isn't a gold. What's a gold? I'm confused. He chooses two people, the main character and somebody who's the god of bad luck, and now they must compete in 5 mysterious trials against opponents who are both more powerful and better trained for fame, glory, and their own survival. That sounds so interesting. Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. Gosh. And of course, Aiden Thomas is a genius, so naturally I'm so excited for this book. And also, if any of that didn't make sense, I'm sorry. I don't know quite how to explain it, since I was literally reading off of the Goodreads website. But anyway, that sounds so cool and so awesome, and I'm so excited to read it. And the cover is absolutely so pretty. So anyway, that's absolutely the first book that I'm so excited for that comes out on Tuesday. The next book on this list that I'm absolutely so excited for is called Self-Made Boys, which is a YA historical fiction retelling of The Great Gatsby with queer Latina characters, if I'm not mistaken, and it's part of the Remixed Classic series, which I talked about in my last reading vlog when I was talking about Travelers Along the Way, the Robin Hood retelling with people of color in it. But anyway, this book follows Nick, who's a transgender boy from Minnesota, and he has no interest in New York's glamour of 1922 because he goes to New York because he wants to establish himself as a young professional which could set up his future and his life as a man and benefit his family. So he rents a small house in West Egg from his 18-year-old cousin Daisy, who lives in fashionable East Egg near her wealthy fiance, and he is shocked to find that his cousin now goes by Daisy, has erased all signs of her Latina heritage, and now passes seamlessly as white. So I'm so excited for that dynamic. And also I heard through the grapevine that Daisy's a lesbian in this retelling, which is so interesting as well. So I'm curious as to how that will affect her relationship with Tom. But anyway, Nick's neighbor in West Egg is a mysterious young man named Jay Gatsby, who holds parties all the time. We all know that from The Great Gatsby. So I feel like this synopsis isn't really that spoilery, But anyway, the point is, Jay is also transgender. So as Nick and Jay spend more time together, Nick's feelings grow more complicated when he finds himself falling hard for Jay's openness, idealism, and unfounded faith in the American dream. That sounds so interesting. I'm absolutely so excited to read this book because this author is so talented. They write magical realism like no other. I don't know if this book contains any elements of historical fiction. Not historical fiction. That is the genre. Magical realism is what I meant. I think it's just a straight historical fiction book. Actually, it's not a straight historical fiction book because the two main characters are not straight. They are in fact gay and trans and falling for each other. But you know what I mean, I think. I mean to say is that I don't think the story has any fantastical elements in it. But anyway, the point is, I'm so excited to read this book. It looks so cool and it looks so good. So anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited for this book. And I'm really, really hoping that it will live up to those expectations. The next book on this list is called Ravenfall. This book was originally on my August TBR, but I think the publication date changed from the 30th of August to the 6th of September, so now it's coming out on Tuesday. But anyway, this book is a middle-grade urban fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, and it follows one magical inn, two kids with supernatural powers, and an ancient Celtic creature trying to destroy the world by Halloween night. It follows a young 13-year-old named Annabella, who's never been normal, even by her psychic family standards, which is so interesting. I love that dynamic of like a main character who's considered weird, even though her family is also considered weird. So she's even weirder than they are. You know what I mean? Anyway, every generation of her family uses their abilities to help run the Ravenfall Inn, a sprawling magical B&B at the crossroads of the human world and the other world. But it's hard to contribute when your only power is foreseeing death. That's so interesting. Anyway, so when 14-year-old Colin arrives at Ravenfall, searching for his missing older brother and the supernatural creature who killed their parents, Annabelle jumps at the chance to help. Her name is actually Annabella, not Annabelle, but anyway, Anna. But the mysteries tied to Colin go much deeper than either of them expects. As the two of them team up to find answers, they unearth Colin's family's secret past and discover that he has powers beyond his imagination. That's so cool. Anyway, if Anna and Colin can't stop the creature by Halloween night, the veil to the other world could be ripped open, which would spell destruction for the world as they know it. That's so cool and so interesting. This author previously wrote the Stormcloak duology, which is such an underrated fantasy duology, and Ravenfall also has an upcoming sequel, I believe, next year. So I hope that this series is another duology by her. But anyway, I'm so excited for this book because it sounds so cool and so awesome, and I love reading middle grade, as you all know. So anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited to read this book because it sounds so cool. The next book on this list is called Monsters Born and Made, and it's a YA South Asian inspired fantasy, and it follows a 16-year-old girl who risks her life every single day to capture the monsters Muistags that live in the Black Seas around the island. I don't know if I said that right, but anyway, they have to, or else their family will starve. So, this book is set in an oceanic world swarming with vicious beasts. That's so fucking interesting. Anyway, the ruling elite family has indentured her family, the main character's family, to provide the animals for the glory race, a deadly chariot tournament reserved for the upper class. That's so interesting. Anyway, the winning contender receives gold and glory. The others, if they're lucky, survive. When the last horse of the year, I'm assuming that these animals are like horses since stag is literally in their name. But anyway, when the last horse escapes and the main character has no new one to sell, her family's financial situation takes a turn for the worse and they can't afford medicine for her chronically ill little sister. And her only choice is to do what no one in the world has ever dared. Cheat her way into the glory race. And typically I don't condone cheating, but that's so interesting. I love books about tournaments, especially magical, fantastical ones, and like especially when there's a dichotomy that it's reserved for the upper class and the main character clearly isn't in the upper class. But anyway, Every step of the way is unpredictable as she races against contenders, including her ex-boyfriend, who have trained for this their entire lives and have no intention of letting a low-caste girl steal their glory. When a rebellion rises and rogues attack her and try to force her to drop out, she must choose her life or her sister before the whole island burns. She grew up battling the monsters that live in the Black Seas, but it couldn't prepare her to face the cunning cruelty of the ruling elite. That sounds so cool. It also says that it's perfect for fans of the Hunger Games, which I love, and these violent delights, which I don't necessarily love, but I did enjoy the world building. So anyway, I'm so excited to read this book. It sounds so awesome, and like I mentioned, it's South Asian inspired, which I love. And I haven't read a really good South Asian inspired fantasy in a really long time. So I'm so excited to read this gripping debut about the power of the elite, the price of the glory, and one girl's chance to change it all. That sounds so interesting and so cool. So I really hope this book lives up to those expectations. I didn't necessarily put this book on my September TBR because with debut new authors, I don't necessarily want to add any more pressure to that, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book. I really hope that it's really good. So anyway, those are the top 4 books that I'm looking forward to reading on Tuesday. However, there are other books on my Goodreads want to read, or as I like to call it, my Goodreads TBR, that I'm interested in, and maybe they'll exceed my 3-star expectations, but maybe they won't. Anyway, I'm currently reading Wildbound, the sequel to Forestborn that I read in January, and I have low expectations because first of all, I don't remember exactly the entirety of what happened in Forestborn and how it ended, and second of all, I think that Wildbound, if I'm not mistaken, has a new character perspective which could go one of 2 ways. Either I like this new character perspective better than the main character of the prequel, or I don't. And honestly, lately, sequels have been disappointing me. So frankly, I think that I'm going to rate this book 3 stars, if not 3.5, or I would just DNF it altogether. So anyway, that's my reading update. Hi besties, it's been about 3 hours since I last talked to you. I'm currently 70% through my book, and it's so good. It definitely exceeded my very low expectations, and we love to see it. I think that I'm going to rate this book 4 stars. I can't say for certain whether or not I prefer it to the first book, but at any rate, it's really good. This duology is so underrated. This author is so underrated, and more people should read these books because they're absolutely so good. I think that the next book that I'm going to read is called Bad at Love. I'm not completely sure what it's about or anything like that, but I think that it's a YA contemporary and it has demisexual and pansexual representation in it, so we love to see it. But I don't really know the synopsis or anything like that, nor have I read the author's previous book, so I have no idea what to expect. But I had lower expectations for my current read, so maybe Bad at Love will exceed those low expectations too. But anyway, all that to say, after I finish this book, I think that I'm going to go to sleep because it's about 11:19 right now, so I think that I might go to sleep. But then afterwards, tomorrow, I'll give you a new reading update. So anyway, all that to say, good night and see you tomorrow, which for you will be in a few seconds. Hi people, so it's the next day, Saturday, September 3rd, and I'm going to give you a reading update. Yesterday I finished 2 books. Well, technically one of them I finished today at midnight, but that was last night for me. Anyway, the first one, as you know, was Wildbound, which I rated 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it, so I will be talking about it in my next recent reads video. And the second one was called Bad at Love, which was this YA contemporary following a pansexual journalist and a demisexual celebrity who fall in love, and honestly, their romance was so cute, and it was absolutely so fluffy, and it reminded me a lot of 10 Things I Hate About You. But anyway, overall, I rated it 3 stars, and now my current read is Wretched, Waterpark, which is written by an author who previously writes YA fantasy, if I'm not mistaken. So this book is her mid-grade debut. It's a very short book. I'm currently 1/3 into it. It's about a pair of twins who solve mysteries at increasingly bizarre summer vacation destinations. So that's interesting. and it's advertised for fans of a series of unfortunate events, which, if you didn't know, is one of my favorite book series, literally of all time. So I'm so excited to continue this book. It's pretty good so far. It's very like whimsical, kind of weird and mysterious, you know what I mean? But I don't know if I'm going to rate it any higher than 3 stars, depending on how like magical it is later. But anyway, all that to say, I'm really enjoying it right now, so that's wonderful. That's my reading update for today. Hi besties, so it's been several hours since the last time I talked to you. It's just past midnight actually, and typically I would go to bed at this hour, but I'm currently reading My Mechanical Romance and I'm actually really enjoying it, to my surprise. So I think I just might stay up and read. Anyway, I also finished Wretched Waterpark earlier. I rated it 3 stars. I don't think it's that good. It's definitely not good enough for me to continue the series, but I thought it was okay and like whimsical and magical sometimes. You know what I mean? Anyway, My Mechanical Romance, if you didn't know, is a YA contemporary following a half-Filipino main character who gets into robotics, which is how she meets her love interest. I think that's how she meets him. I'm pretty sure, because his character perspective is the other perspective in the story. Anyway, so they meet in robotics, and it's kind of like an enemies to lovers romance, which typically I don't love in YA contemporaries, because usually the reason why they're enemies is based in like pettiness. So that's just so annoying and so unnecessary. Whereas in fantasy settings, it's like it has a reason. You know what I mean? It's like based in culture or something like that. Like that's how they were raised. But like, anyway, the point is, I'm actually enjoying this book right now, and I'm very intrigued by like the individual character dynamics. So I'm intrigued as to how like their romance and everything will develop, and also like girls in STEM. That's so cool. Anyway, I'm so excited to continue this book. I've read like 5 chapters so far. So anyway, I will give you an update later on. I don't know when, but later on. So anyway, there's that. So, hi people, it's actually now almost 1 a.m. I finished My Mechanical Romance. I rated it 3 stars because I realized that the only thing that I really cared about was the romance, and it really drove the story forward, and that was great, and it was well developed and everything, but I didn't care about anything else that was happening in the story, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I rated it 3 stars. I probably won't read a book by that author ever again. I know that she also wrote the Atlas 6, if I'm not mistaken, which I DNF'd last year. So anyway, all that to say, I've also decided that I think I'm going to end this reading for here, because honestly, since it's almost 1 a.m., I kind of want to go to sleep, and I kind of don't want to continue this vlog tomorrow, if that makes any sense. I think I might film a recommended reads video tomorrow, but maybe I won't. I'm trying not to like burn myself out anymore. You know what I mean? Anyway, the point is, I hope that you enjoy this vlog. I apologize that the majority of it is just me talking about new anticipated releases. I feel like that's kind of boring, but I don't really know. I don't quite know exactly how to do reading vlogs exactly, like the way that everybody else does them. But maybe my problem is that I shouldn't compare myself to other booktubers. So anyway, the point is, good night. I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you did, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the fox emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye. Good night.